speaking more about city life.
关注房子，关注城市，更关注生活。
I will see you every Wednesday night.
国际生活家直播采访秀 Vivian Speaking， 每周3晚7点半，不见不散。
Good evening, this is Vivian speaking. Tonight is my honor to have Mike with me for the next 45 minutes, and he has been playing squash for 35 years, and he represents the Bahama national team, right? And he's been playing in the national team for 10 years, right?
Yes.
So welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much, yes. I'm happy to be here. And just a quick introduction.
Okay.
This is called a squash racket.
Mm-hmm.
And the game came from a game called rackets in England back in 1830.
1830, okay.
The game of squash rackets was started at a school called Harrow's. It was a private boys' school in London, England. And so they started with a ball. Instead of the racket sport was a hard ball. They developed this ball, and it's called a squash ball because watch, when you go like that, it goes squish, squish, squish.
So they have that sound, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the name actually came from the fact that we call it a squashable ball.
Yeah. Okay.
So it had that little squash, and in
Yeah.
fact, when you hear it hit up against the wall, you can actually almost hear that squish, squish.
Oh.
So that it's called squash.
Okay.
Yes. It's a fun sport, and I got to play it after when I first moved to Bahamas in 1980. I had been teaching for 8 years prior to that, and I took a break. I went down, and for like 2 years, I basically did nothing but have a party. I went home, and the first thing my mother said was, "Michael, you're getting fat." I says, "Oh my gosh," because prior to going to Bahamas, I was playing ice hockey, baseball, so I was doing lots of sports, so I was keeping my weight under control.
Yeah, but in Bahama there's no hockey, right?
Exactly, yes,
Yeah.
a little bit warm for ice, yes. So when I went back, a friend of mine who was British was working at the casino, and I said, I need to find a sport that's fun. He says, "Mike, I got exactly the sport for you called squash." I said, "Oh, squash, I'd never heard of it."
No.
So he took me to the squash courts and introduced me, and that was in 1982, and I've been playing ever since. And it's now, I have to tell you, it's the best sport in terms of fitness, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's easy to play from little kids to old people, from women to men, from fat to skinny. Anybody can play this game of squash. It's a simple game to learn.
Yeah, and for the squash, I don't think the Tianjin or Chinese people know it because, that is a racket sport, right?
Yes.
But for us, so badminton, ping pong, maybe, is more popular.
Yes.
So could you explain us, what's the difference from the badminton, ping pong, and the squash?
Yes, basically, I've played as a phys ed teacher and as an athlete. I played all the racket sports, and the main difference between squash and the other sports is the fact that all the sports you mentioned are divided by a net. So in other words, you have two players at opposite sides of the court. So ping pong, you have the small net over a table. Tennis, you have the net across the court, and same with badminton, you have the net higher up.
Yeah.
So everything is played across the net. 2 people or 4 people teams.
Yeah.
Squash is played up against a wall. So there's no obstacle between the players. We're both facing the same way, and we play the ball up against the wall and back to the player. And the simple object is to not let the ball bounce twice or hit out of court. And that's how you gain points. I think what I've found, as I've traveled around the world twice, and I've taught in 7 different countries. All the countries I've taught in have been British colonies.
Oh, British colonies.
Yes.
That's why you started play squash in the Bahama. Because
Yes.
Bahama is, it's a British colony.
Exactly, because it was a British colony and a lot of British influence. So, and it's a small island, 40,000 people, and so the squash club was sort of the center of activity in terms of sports. So I got involved at that point, and I know that as I traveled, and I was interested in playing squash in England, in Australia, in Canada, in Kenya, Africa. You know, so because they're all British colonies, squash was a much more popular sport. Even Hong Kong, I've been to Hong Kong.
Okay.
So in China, the difference is the fact that there's not that huge British influence, and it was never a British colony. So their involvement with these small ball sports, you know, badminton, ping pong, tennis, is through public media, like the Olympics. You know, these sports have been played in the Olympics for years and years. Squash is not an Olympic sport, so there's no international coverage as such.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I think we just you just let me know that's why, you know, the Chinese, I mean, the squash did not influence the Chinese people that much because you know, we are not the British colony, of course, right? But Hong Kong, maybe, you know, the squash there is very popular, right?
Yes.
So that's the reason, and of course, the different from the squash and the badminton is the squash against the wall, right? Plays against wall, but for the badminton or ping pong, they always has a net.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Alright, so 那这里呢，那我先简单的说一下哈，用中文。那么这块呢，我们主要谈到了一个就是这个叫壁球啊，我们今天的主题叫 Uncle Mike talks about squash。那么他在讲这个壁球的时候呢，他会提到这个壁球和我们国人很熟悉的羽毛球啊、乒乓球的一些区别。那大家可以感觉到，那壁球首先呢，它是面对着墙来击球。那么羽毛球和乒乓球更多的是中间是有一道是什么呀？是有一道网子，对吧？那么第二点呢，他会提到，那么在整个这个壁球的发展上，为什么中国在壁球上并没有很发达或者很普及？那是因为那很多壁球就是普及的地方呢，都是英国的殖民。就是怎么说呢？英国的殖民地吧，比如说他是从巴哈马开始学习他的壁球的，那么一学呢就是35年的一个时间，一玩就35年的时间。那比如说中国的香港，它也是在壁球方面非常非常的普及。OK， 那现在呢，我们进入到下一个话题，那么我们来了解一下 Uncle Mike 对于壁球的一个就是开始的一个经历。So everybody knows something about the squash, and so now we've been knowing that you've been playing squash for 35 years. So that's a long year. So you just told us that one of your friends, right, gave you a big influence to start sports.
Yes.
So why exactly you start to do it?
My main motivation was obviously because my mother said I was getting fat. And I was so I became conscious about that point, you know? And so when I went back to Bahamas, I specifically looked for something that I could do athletically to help control my weight. And of course, you know, I like to drink beer. So if you drink beer and you don't do anything to offset that
you're gonna
interest,
have
you're gonna
the
gain
beer
some weight.
belly, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
as my students say, a 啤酒宝贝.
啤酒宝贝
Beer
Very
baby.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point, I was 32 years old, and I got into this sport, and I will tell you that it's probably one of the best aerobic sports that you can play in terms of exercise. Like you can burn 1,000 calories in an hour. It's amazing.
Because this game is very intensive.
Yes, it's continual activity, because you know, if you think about playing tennis or playing ping pong, you know, you hit the ball, and all of a sudden it flies all the way across the room. You have to stop, walk over, get the ball, come back, then you switch sides, you serve from this side. So there's always downtime, there's always stop time.
Downtime to have a little bit of rest, right?
Yeah.
What about squash?
Well, squash, because you're in a confined area and the ball is always there. It's like you've got one step and you pick it up, you serve again, you play. And the ball can stay in play a lot longer as well. You know, without the obstacle of the net in between you, where you can possibly hit something that might derail the ball. This way you're just playing up against a wall, and you can play all four walls. You can play the back wall. It doesn't matter as long as it doesn't bounce more than once on the floor. So you're virtually continuously playing the whole time. Just to make a little comparison.
Yeah.
I was just watching the tennis in Wimbledon, and they had a 6.5-hour competition that went a 5-setter in a Grand Slam event. in squash you can't play more than 2 hours, otherwise you would die from the exertion. It's just amazingly.
So normally it takes how long to play the game?
Depending on the level of the players, as I said, I played in competition. I played at the national level, international level with the Bahamas team.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's mismatches. You have the number 1 player playing the number 5 player. Well, he can win. He can win 9-love, 9-love, 9-1 in half an hour.
Okay.
Less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
The better the players, the more matched up they are.
The longer.
Yes, but the longest would be not more than 2 hours. It's impossible. You would die.
1 hour and a half.
Yeah, an hour and a half playing, and now today the old scoring was to 9 points, and we call that hand out. So you would not get a point on if you lose your serve. Now they play what's called PAR, point to rally. So it's each serve garnishes a point. If you win the serve, you get a point. If you lose the serve, your opponent gets the point. So there's scoring on every serve, and it goes to 11. So it goes fairly quickly. It lets the match get to the 11 point level quicker than if we're playing with just handout like no point serve, no point serve, no point. So they've changed the ruling, but generally an hour and a half is like the maximum length of time that a squash match would go.
Okay, and at the beginning, and you talked about the balls. I mean, for all the levels, they have the same balls.
They have different balls based on the beginning level, intermediate level, advanced level. So the beginning ball is called a blue dot. So the blue dot, and that's the ball that the beginners would use because it bounces so high. It bounces, so it keeps in play for the beginners. As we progress to the level of your skill, the top players would play with what's called a double yellow dot.
Double yellow.
The double yellow.
Okay.
It's the slowest ball, so it because it's slower, the players have to move more and keep the ball in play. So
for the first stage, I mean for the beginner it's a double blue.
No, just a single blue dot.
A single blue dot, and for the as it progress, it's gonna be the single yellow, right?
It'll go blue, green, red, yellow.
Oh.
Yeah, we had like 4 different colors. So I think
four
it's
different
blue.
colors.
Yeah, it's blue, green, red. I think maybe blue, red, green. Then the yellow, then the single yellow, and then the slowest ball was called the double yellow, and that's usually the one that's used in competition. Yeah.
Okay, get it. How about let's look at some pictures. 那这样我们现在让导播呢给我们切一下图片哈，然后我们看看就是在比赛的时候的样子，或者是我们在打壁球的时候的样子，这样大家理解起来更容易理解。Okay, so this is when you have these pictures.
Yes, this was actually in Tianjin. My son came to visit, and so this is he and I playing. And just a quick introduction to my son. He obviously was raised in the Bahamas, so from 1 year old he was on the court with me, and so I started coaching him. He became the number 1 player from 10 years old to 15 years old as a junior in Bahamas, so he was pretty good, and you can see his skill set there. But yeah, and like I said, it's a sport that is easy to learn, from children. I was teaching in the Bahamas, and I would actually take my PE classes to the squash club, and I'd have 30 kids, sitting on the court, and we'd take turns practicing shots, practicing skills. Yeah. So it's a simple game to learn.
Yeah.
As you progress, the skill set gets more and more developed until you get to the top level.
OK，那在这里哈，简单的解释一下。那么我们刚才一直也是在说这个squash 就这个壁球呢和比如说还是刚才提到的一些跟我们的所谓的就是中国人很熟悉的一些小球，像羽毛球啊、乒乓球啊，它们之间的一个区别哈。那刚才他提到一个，比如说他 说在就是这个打比赛的时间上，那 squash 来讲的话，就这个壁球呢，一般它可能最长的时间，比较专业的话也不会超过2个小时，1个半小时为主，因为它的这种运动量，包括它的激烈程度远远高于这个网球的激烈程度。那么温布尔登呢，我们知道它的冠军赛来讲的话，可能会持续6个半小时的时间。那这样的话，大家可以看到这样的一个区别哈。那同时呢，他也讲到了这个球非常有意思哈。那么我们看到现在这个 Mike 的带来的这个球呢，它是属于最高级别的球，为什么呢？它是可以从形状来讲的话，我们可以看到它中间是2个黄色，是叫 double yellow dot，right？那作为一个 beginner 来讲的话呢，那作为一个新手来讲的话，我们玩的肯定不是这个球，那玩的可能是一个single blue dot，是一个就是单点的一个蓝色的那个球跟这个球的最大区别就是说，它会更加bouncing，right？它会更加就是怎么说？它的弹跳力会更好。那么对于新手来讲，它接球起来的话会更加容易。对，大概是这样。那刚才通过我们的图片来讲呢，我们也看到真正的壁球它是需要一个场地的。那下面呢，我们就会让 Mike 呢给我们讲一下大概的一个就是打壁球的一个规则。Okay, so let's move to the rules of the squash. Okay, could you explain for us a little bit?
Like I said, it's a very simple game.
Okay, how about 导播来，对我们导播先不要动了啊，就是把这个图片我们可以就是大家看一下Okay, so
if you look at the court, there's an outline of red lines that show the in and out position. So you want to keep the ball within inside the red lines, the top level red lines around the sides and the top of the court and the back court line. On the floor, you'll see a T-shaped red line, and we have that's called the center line and the service line. And on each side of that service area, we have a box. The small box that you can see in the right-hand corner and the left-hand corner, those are called the service boxes. The objective is
Okay, small box, right?
Yeah,
That's
the small box is
that is service box.
Yeah, that's the service box.
Okay.
For the first shot, for the first serve, the player that's serving has to have 1 foot inside that service box, and then they have to serve to the front wall, and you'll see the service line, the halfway line, the red line in the center, in the middle of the wall.
Okay, so that is
looking on the front wall.
Okay, so this part, right? So this part.
Yes, there.
Right.
So that line there,
Okay.
just that line. No, it has to be above that line. So the service has to be between there
So-
and there. Yes.
Actually, this is a cut line, right?
Yes.
So you mean when the
Serve
people
from there.
serves?
Yeah.
Serves. Okay, so it goes between this
No,
part.
it has to
this
be.
part.
Yes, between
so
there.
between the cut line, the out of the court line,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
So once the serve
Uh-huh.
hits there and comes across the court to the left side,
To the left side. Okay.
and within that bigger box.
Bigger box.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it has to land somewhere in there.
If I serve and the box out of the the bigger box, it's gonna be.
Loss of serve.
Oh, okay.
And that would give a point to your opponent. So
Okay.
the serve is the only one that is controlled to that extent, or has to be within the service area.
Okay, so how
Once-
about this part? When I can hit the ball to
Once
this one?
once the serve is made, any part of that wall is in play.
Oh.
As long as it doesn't hit the red line.
Including the sidewall, right?
Sidewalls, anywhere inside the top red lines, and the ball is playable.
Okay.
The dark blue in the front there, see the dark blue?
Dark blue.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
one?
yes, that's
Okay.
called the tin.
Tin.
And
Yeah.
if
tin.
it hits, there's a red line on the top, and if it hits the red line or below the red line, it's a dead ball.
Oh, the dead ball, it means you lose, right?
Yeah, it means you lost your serve.
You lost your serve.
And the other person will get the point.
Okay. So if if somebody just hits the ball to the sidewall or to other part of it, it's okay, right?
Yeah.
After you serve, right?
Once the serve is good, once the serve is within the service area,
Yeah.
then the ball is in play.
Okay.
Then we play one hit, one hit, and we take turns until someone either misses the ball, or
Yeah.
it goes out of court, or it bounces twice on the floor.
Okay, get it. And if I cannot get it, anybody cannot get it. It means you lost.
That means if your opponent served, he would get a point and serve again.
Okay, yeah.
If you served and you couldn't get it back, then you would lose your serve.
Yeah.
He would get a point and then take over the serve.
Okay, get it.
And
get
so
it, get
we
it.
call that point a rally. So point on every serve, whether you win the serve or lose the serve, someone will get a point. And
Okay.
it goes, the game goes to 11.
Alright. Actually, in Tianjin, just have 2 courts.
Yes, yes.
1 court or 2 courts.
I played on one, and friends have told me that there's another one somewhere. I'm not sure the location, but I may make an effort to try and visit that one as well.
Okay.
But what I've noticed now is that it's becoming increasingly popular, and you can see even at the squash court we have here. Now there's more and more people showing up, and I would go 6 months ago. Even 6 months ago, I'd go and there'd be like nobody there. It'd be just me and my partner. Now, last night
More
we
and
had
more people.
yeah.
enjoy
Last
it.
night, 2 friends of mine came, and they couldn't get a court until 8 o'clock at night
Oh,
because
really?
the 3 courts were booked. Yeah, so they had to wait till 8 p.m. Also, as I mentioned, the friends that I played with last night, Chinese friends, and actually a fellow from Singapore as well. They actually played in Beijing 2 weekends ago in a tournament they had there, and he was showing me some pictures. They've got like over 10 courts in Beijing now, so you can see in the bigger centers, in China, it's actually becoming more and more popular. And I believe, like we talked about with the badminton and the ping pong, how China is more oriented towards small ball sports, and they are very competitive in that level. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see some really top level Chinese squash players hitting the international market. I believe that's going to happen. Yeah, it's just a matter of time,
Yeah.
It's like any sport, of course, because the Olympics, is a huge focal point for world athletics.
Yes.
Yeah? So when China sees, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when they see badminton and ping pong on the Olympic sports, they say, "Wow, let's try that." Now, the Olympics will be held in Tokyo in 2002, and squash is trying to get accepted. They put in an application to try and be accepted to play to have squash in the 2002 Olympics. That would be 2022. Sorry, that would be very interesting if that happens. But I don't think they're going to get qualified at maybe the next one in 4 more years. Yeah,
Okay.
but that's what it'll take. Once it becomes an international sport per se, there's still an international body in squash. The World Squash Federation, and they do have their world competitions. Like Hong Kong is big in squash, and they just had one 2 years ago. But I think gradually it'll become more and more popular in China.
Yeah, if they join the Olympics, it's going to be, to cover some more places in the world, right?
Yes.
Okay.
A good example, curling. Curling just became, it's a popular sport in Winter Olympics. Well, China had just started their curling. In fact, Harbin, where I was, teaching with Heilongjiang Daxue, Harbin is the capital for the curling center in China, and all of a sudden they got the bronze medal in the 2010 Olympics, in curling, in women's curling. So that's a pretty progressive development for a team that just started playing 5 years ago.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Okay. After we were talking, I think it's a very good sport, and I want to join in. Okay, but how about the age? Because now I'm pretty close to 40, right? So is that too late to join this game?
As I mentioned before, squash can be played at all levels. It can be played. You can stay with your blue ball and play forever. If if you're too old, if you're too fat, if you're too slow, if you just want to get out and get some exercise, it's a great sport. And like I said, from kids to adults, and I'm 69 years old, and I'm still playing at a pretty good level. So yes,
do they have
answer your question,
yeah, does they have some kind of age categories for the?
And that's what I wanted to talk about
Okay.
in a little bit as well, with regards to international squash. And as I started to tell you, I didn't start playing till I was 32, because I was playing against opponents that were 20, 25, 30. I was never good enough to be competitive, until I got some more time under my belt, until I got some more playing time. And then as I got to a point, 45 was the age that
45.
Yes, is the age that's a group called the veterans.
Veterans.
The veterans, the VETS, the vets.
V-E-N.
Veteran, VETERANS. So veterans, ERANS, yeah.
R-N-S. Veterans.
ANS, yeah. So the
Veterans.
veterans are the group of players that have to be 45 or older. Once you hit 45, then we go into a different group of players. You know, so from below 45, we play in what's called the men's open and the women's open. So in competitions that we held in the Bahamas, we played a tournament called the Rose Bowl, which was 4 countries: Bahamas, Jamaica.
Rose Bowl.
The Rose Bowl, yeah.
Rose Bowl.
ROSC, Rose Bowl, and so it was 4 countries: the Bahamas, Jamaica, Cayman, and Bermuda.
Okay.
So every year we would play in a different country. So once I turned 45, I was good enough. I already had 13 years playing experience, so I was playing at a level that was good enough to get me onto the national team to play as a top, as a number 1 vet.
Right.
So I played in the vets category. So from 45 until 55, I played.
Veterans.
And now, in fact, the World Squash Federation has a tournament every 2 years, and it's called the Masters Tournament, and it's from
Master tournament.
Masters,
tournament.
only 45 and over. So it's 45
really?
to 50, 50 to 55 category, 55 to 60, etc. So I'm 69 now, so I wouldn't be so competitive because I'd have to play against 65-year-olds. So they would probably kick my butt. When I turn 70 next year, then I will qualify to play from the 70 to 75-year-olds. So hopefully I'll be able to kick the 75-year-olds' butts.
Hopefully.
So.
对，这段非常非常有意思啊，就是我会提到一个问题，那么就是说这个年龄的问题，因为这个听完 Mike 来讲这个壁球以后呢，我确实很有兴趣，对这个运动来讲呢，我是非常的想参与到，因为就是确实也是希望有更多更新鲜的运动来加入。那么但是呢，我会有一个问题，就是说对于这个年龄问题，那对于壁球来讲的话，但是他刚才的解释确实让我就是才发现壁球原来真的是老少皆宜，它是这样。那它是有不同的年龄层，那45岁之下的呢？那么因为大家体力各方面它都是非常好，那么他来参加的每年的比赛叫 Man Open 或 Women Open， 那是这种公开赛。我觉得应该叫公开赛。那45岁以后呢，他对于这个的年龄层呢，他是叫veterans。veterans。那对于他来讲，比如说咱们拿麦克来举例的话，他明年就70岁，那这样的话，他还能不能就是打比赛呢？就是作为壁球来讲，那可能作为别的运动来讲的话，他已经没有这样的机会。但是作为国际壁球的协会来讲的话，他是在每2年的时候，他会举行一个 The Master Tournament。那么就这样的一个比赛呢，它是对于不同的年龄层，尤其比如说像70岁到75岁的时候，那么这个年龄层它有自己独特的一个就是比赛的组。那么不同的年龄它会有不同的组，所以我觉得它真的是一个，我觉得它在未来呢，如果它真正能够加入到奥林匹克来讲的话，我觉得会覆盖更多的人群，因为它这些很多非常 flexible 的这些就是没有条件的限制，所以我觉得它也会让更多的中国人呢会喜欢上这份运动。Okay, my next question is, for some Chinese my friends, okay, one of the friends who plays squash, a lot, and he asked me that you must ask a question for him to you that some people thought, because when you play squash and you just hit the ball and his ball to the wall, so he thought maybe that's a very good way to minimize the stress. So do you think so?
I never thought of it that way, but I could see that if you had some relationship problems, and you might want to take out that anger against the wall with the ball, and you can just maybe picture the person that you're not having so much fun with as that their face on the wall. You might want to aim the ball right there. To me, it never was that. I never got involved at that level. My reason for playing squash was because it's great exercise, and it was an easy game to learn. And to answer your question, at your age level, you look like you're pretty fit. What kind of sports did you play as growing up as high school?
Badminton.
So you got some racket skills.
Yeah. So I think so.
Those can be translated into squash very easily.
Okay.
It's like a racket and a swing and a ball. and as I said, because there's no obstacle of that net in between you and the opponent, you're just looking at a wall, and everybody can hit a wall. You know?
Okay, yeah.
You got to be pretty poorly or got to be pretty handicapped if you can't hit the ball to the wall. So yeah, I think, as I said, anybody can learn this game, and to the extent to which you take it will be up to your skills and your ability and your fitness. So if you're a little bit overweight and you're not moving so quickly, then you just play soft shots. You just play, keep the ball in play with a partner that's at the same level, and then
the
you
same
can
level is very important for the squash.
It's important because it gives you guys something to compete against, right? If you're playing me, then you would probably get frustrated, and I would certainly not get much of a workout, right? So I would just keep the ball in play. I just tap, just to keep you involved, interactively. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a great sport at all levels, and and I would love to invite you out and come and get on the court with you and give you some little pointers. And like I said, with your skills, racket skills, you can progress like that. You can pick it up very quickly, and within 4 sessions on the court, you could actually be making having a good game.
Okay, yeah, that I think that's what I focus is how I gonna play. But I think one important thing that I need to have another player that we have the same stage. Maybe that's the better.
That's the way to start. That's the way to start, because then you've got a little bit of a competitiveness going on, right? Whereas you know that if you play a little bit better, you can beat her one time, and she might beat you one time. And it makes it gives you something to focus on in terms of getting better. And like the skills are basic. It's the forehand swing, the backhand swing. We got a drop shot, we got a lob shot, and we got a sidewall shot called a post, and that's basically it. It makes it real simple. So yeah, and like I said, it's a really good fun workout sport as well. And you can lose calories and have fun doing it.
好，那么就是这个部分呢，大家应该是有没有听得很清楚呢？就是那么 Michael 他也在说哈，那比如说像我来讲的话，他觉得4节课，他觉得就应该可以，就是能够打上壁球。那么这个打壁球的一个很关键一个点呢，就是你应该有一个跟你条件相当或者说速度相当的一个对手。这样来讲的话呢，你可能会很快的进入这个角色那这个来讲的话是很关键的。Okay, so we just talk about how to involve to this game, right? And but in some movies I have seen the saying of the squash, but they always been very successful man or woman. So I don't know what happened. Outside China, because the squash in China is not that popular.
Right.
How about in Hong Kong or in some places? Is that the people who have some wealth to do the sport, or just everybody, do that?
My guess is that there's a small faction of people that are familiar with the sport, and within that circle, it is a huge competitive activity, and I would also guess that depending on your income, the higher your income, the more influence that you have in that circle, then you say, oh, let's go play squash, and then and so it's probably focused more on a group of people on a certain lifestyle, on a set of people that like to be fit, like to play in the fast lane. So that's my opinion about it. Especially in bigger cities, you'll have that group. They will have that group of people that will hang out together. They'll play their squash. They'll go to dinner. They'll go to clubs. They'll have all those activities that is available to them. And of course, squash memberships, and it's a little expensive to play. So it's gonna eliminate a whole group of people that can't afford to go play squash. It's like I remember, growing up as a child in Canada, if you wanted to play ice hockey, the expense of buying equipment, all the pads and the stick and the skates, like the skates is a huge, just buying the skates, it's a huge investment. So kids at a lower economic level would be more forced into playing soccer, which you need one ball and you don't even need shoes. You know, you need a field and a ball and kick it around, and 20 kids go and play soccer. Or basketball. You can make a net with a milk crate, and nail it up onto a tree, and one old ball, and you got your basketball game. So that's why a lot of these sports, as growing up as a kid, baseball and ice hockey in America were a lot more expensive. And not to make this a race thing, but there's minimal black people that play ice hockey. If you watch ice hockey around the world, it's not a sport that a lot of black people get into. So generally, squash is one of those more elite sports that would cost a little bit more money. Your membership, the court fees, to pay for the court fees. Like here, it's 60 yuan for an hour to rent the court.
Okay, not bad, right? Yeah. 那刚才我们也提到了，就是在打壁球的过程中，这个费用的问题。那其实在很多就是英联邦国家来讲的话，这个壁球是确实非常普遍，非常普及。那么在天津来讲的话，是基本上是1 hour 60, 40.
Yes, 60.
60.
Over after 6 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay.
On weekends. Yeah.
OK， 那么大概是1个小时60元的这个费用，其实并不是很高，所以我觉得就可以，真的是可以，大家越来越多的朋友，那么能来参与进来。那么对于麦克来讲呢，我们今天呢提到了很多 squash 的话题，其实它还有一个非常有意思的话题，那么就是说，因为我们今天提到的更多的是运动，那其实它在保持健康方面呢，我还想提一个问题哈，那就是说，它其实已经是45年的时间，一天只吃1顿饭。So we just talk a lot about the squash, right? The sport, and I think the people, the audience who is watching us want to be be fit, right? And they want, so besides sport, I think the diet is one important thing, and I've been knowing that you've been just one meal, right, for the last 45 years. So that's amazing. So how can you do it? Could you share something? Yeah.
As I mentioned to you before, I got into this habit 45 years ago when I first returned to Canada, and I got my first full-time teaching job in my hometown.
Okay.
And I decided that rather than getting up an hour earlier to have breakfast, my wife would prepare breakfast. I said one morning, I said, honey, I'm going to skip breakfast. I just want to sleep in until I can get up and go straight to school.
Yeah.
So it was basically, I love to sleep, so I'd rather avoid eating in order to sleep longer. And then of course in school I was doing class at lunchtime for beginning students that I didn't have time, so I just skipped lunch as well. So over the last 45 years it's just been having one meal a day, and I like it. It's my body's adjusted to it. I don't feel hungry in the day. I drink water. I just drink water all day long.
All day long,
Yeah.
you just drink water, so no hungry feelings.
No hungry feeling, no snacking, no fruits, nothing.
Okay, but sometimes you just even though you have 3 meals, it's you still feel tempting to some snacks.
No, not me. I haven't. In fact, my students will come in. The Dashwa Shang, my college students or my little kids, they'll come in and say, Mike, and they'll give me some crackers or a cookie or a chocolate bar or an apple, and I'll say thank you very much, and then I'll just, when they turn their head, I'll put it in my drawer, and I'll take it home and eat it later that night. But I won't even be tempted to snack on it.
Okay, I think we just have 45 minutes talk on the live show. So anybody have any question, just leave us. Okay, so Mike will reply back after the live show. Okay. 那么刚才我也提到，就是因为我们这次谈话时间只有45分钟的时间呢，所以说呢，大家如果有什么问题的话呢，大家可以在底下给我们留言哈。那么就是在45分钟之后，我觉得麦克他会亲自的回复给大家，好不好？那同时呢，我刚才提到一个很重要一点，他在45年的时间，他一天只吃1顿饭。那这个来讲，对我们很多中国来讲的话，那简直就是不可思议的一件事。那么，但是对他来讲的话，他也提到了，他压根儿没有感觉到任何的饥饿，而且呢，他每天他只是喝水，只是在傍晚的时候他才会去吃晚餐。那么就是实际上就是我们说的 dinner。那在这样的情况下呢，他的健康状况怎么样呢？我们也想了解一下。Okay, so Okay, so how about your, I mean, the body? So after this 45 years, one male, so how's it going?
Perfect. You know, I at one point I had an injury playing hockey, and I had to have an operation. Then after that, it took about a month to get it sorted out. I had to go check in with my family doctor once a month.
Oh,
And
okay.
when I would show up, the nurse would take me, and then she would check my weight and check my blood pressure, check a few things, and she would say, okay, now what medications are you taking? I said, She said, well, you're over 60. I said, yeah. She says, you're not taking? I said, no.
Oh, impossible for them, right?
They couldn't believe that,
No,
because
they
every
couldn't believe
patient
that.
every patient that comes in that's over 60 has a list of a dozen medications that they're on. So for me, I've never taken anything, not even vitamins. They say vitamins are so good for you, but I just figure my body's in such good shape. I've never been to the hospital for any kind of illness.
Wow.
I in 35 years, I haven't missed a day of work. I taught for 7 years at Heilongjiang Dashren in Yichuan, and Tianqian. I had classes every day, weekend little kids, and during the week I had my college kids.
Yeah.
So not one day in 7 years, for 7 days a week, I was teaching. I didn't miss one day. Not for a cold.
That's amazing,
Not
right?
for a stomach ache. My digestion is perfect. My blood pressure's low. Everything is perfect. My medical checkup, I clear with flying colors for the last 7 years.
I thought it's very interesting that you explained to me that why everything's perfect for you, because your digestion system is brand new, right? Yeah, could you say something to my audience?
Yeah, I compared it to if we both bought a car, a brand new car at the same time, and I drive my car for 1,000 miles a year, and you drive yours for 3,000 miles a year, like 3 times, because you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm only eating dinner, so that means I'm doing I'm putting 1/3 of the miles on my body that you're putting on yours, 3 times meals. Your digestion has to work 3 times as much. So everything you do is like 3 times as much as what I'm doing. So just comparing it in that respect, say, okay, look, I'm only using my system for 1/3 of the time. I can last 3 times as long as you. So I'm gonna live to be like 180, and you're gonna die when you're 70. I don't know.
No, I'm not gonna die at
I'm
70.
kidding.
Okay, I know it. Yeah, so actually I have very, very, it's a lovely time for this 45 minutes with Mike, and we talk about the squash and how he started, and the different from the badminton and the ping pong, and also we talk about he has just one male for the last 45 years, right? So that's amazing. That is Vivian speaking, and because we want to evolve some more international lifestyle. So I will see you next week. So thanks, Mike.
And thank you very much as well. It was my pleasure coming here. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Mike.
Perfect.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.